So now we're at question number 10. Let's read it as is and hear how it sounds. One of Moss's most memorable observations in which this regard involved 3 elephants. That does sound a bit awkward, but let's not mark it off just yet. We're going to use our incision and subvocalization technique. And what does concise mean? It means the least amount of words or the least amount of punctuation. And then subvocalize, what does that mean? It means we're going to say it to ourselves at a conversational speed to hear how it sounds. If it sounds smooth, let's pick it. If it sounds awkward, we need to move on to the next one. So step 1, let's find the most concise answer. Why don't you find that for me? Which one is it? Right, it would be answer choice J because it only has one word. Now input that word into the sentence and hear how it sounds. One of Moss's most memorable observations, which involved 3 elephants. Nope, that's not a complete thought, right? So we would have to mark that wrong. Now we'd have to go to H. Let's hear how that sounds. One of Moss's most memorable observations, ones that involved 3 elephants. Again, that's awkward, not a complete thought. Why? Well, it's as if we have 2 thoughts all rolled up into one. One of Moss's most memorable observations, and I would believe they would be talking more about that. But instead, they move on to something else, ones that involved 3 elephants. It's as if I have 2 thoughts, incomplete thoughts, rolled together into one sentence, and that's why that sounds awkward. Okay, now let's go to answer choice G. Let's do this one together. One of Moss's most memorable observations in this regard involved 3 elephants. How does that sound? Right. That does sound complete. That sounds smooth. So answer choice G would be your best bet, and you could pick it and move on. But let's look at answer choice F. One of Moss's most memorable observations in which this regard involved 3 elephants. Well, that sounds a bit wordy. So it's awkward. F would be wrong. Now I want to go into why G is right and F is wrong. We know why H and J are wrong because they form incomplete thoughts. But G and F have to do with something called idiomatic expressions. Idiomatic. And that's what that word is. And what is an idiomatic expression? Well, it's an in-type of informal English where you have phrases that the meaning is different than the meaning of the words in the expression. And a good example is hold your tongue. Hold your tongue doesn't literally mean hold your tongue. It means that you need to stop talking. It would be something that maybe a mother would tell a child or a teacher, something to that effect. But if you weren't already familiar with the phrase, then it would be difficult to understand. So let me go through a list of other idiomatic expressions that you might be familiar with. Take a look at this list. You don't have to write them down. I just want you to be aware that there are things called idiomatic expressions, and you should be familiar with them. Okay, so if you notice here, a lot of these idiomatic expressions have prepositional phrases: by, about, to, from, of, and they'll have an object: approve of, hide from, agree to, care about. And they're going to exist with these specific phrases in mind. I wouldn't say I'm going to care around. That would be awkward. Or I'm not going to say I'm going to believe to. I'm not going to count around. So you want to pick the idiomatic expression that sounds most familiar to you. And that is going to be the correct answer. And there's no other way to assess idiomatic expressions except by ear. And so I just want you to be aware that the ACT does test for your understanding of idiomatic expressions. Okay, so how did we answer question number 10? Well, we read it, subvocalized it. Sorry, we found the most concise answer. Then we subvocalized that. We recognized that G and H were wrong because they formed incomplete thoughts. We did the same thing with G. We found out that that did sound complete, but it's also an idiomatic expression. Whereas F is awkward. It doesn't correctly have the idiomatic expression that I'm trying to make here. A little too wordy as well. So G would have to be the right answer. Thank you.